Welcome to episode 3 of the Iron Insight. I'm your host, Bryn Welds, and
I'm Andrew Nichols with Southern Leatherworks.
thank you for starting your week off right with the Iron Insight every Monday at 4 in the morning. Today for episode 3, we had an episode planned out and stuff kind of happened, fell through technical difficulties, but that guest will return at a later episode. So today we're going to talk about getting into the industry and what to do right out of school. Or maybe you're not in school and you're looking to switch industries and you're looking into welding. Here's some of our takes on what route you could take and what route we took and things to consider when you are. So I think let's start off with school because me and Andrew, we both went to school at we both went college, and I think you started welding in high school and I did
Yep.
as well.
Yes, sir. Started
So
off, started off as an apprentice through high school. Kind of. It was not really. I wouldn't even call it an apprenticeship. I just basically learned to weld, and that was it. And then went into school. So yeah, I went through college, and then that's when I met Bryn. And I guess we both kind of went the same pathway. But I don't know. I really like college because it gave me a lot of like hyper focused time on welding and learning a bunch of different stuff. I already had a good experience with welding. I knew how to MIG weld and all sorts of stuff like that. And I knew how to fab, but as far as learning how to TIG and stick and all that, it was definitely helpful to be hyper focused on learning those things. Because that's all I did in college. I just welded and that was it, and passed all sorts of tests and certifications. Not that those really mean anything in college, but it allowed me to really do a lot of learning in a very short amount of time. So
yeah, when I was in high school, I didn't even touch the machine. Our teacher, Mr. Naylor, he would set the machine up and we would just run beads. But he didn't tell us anything about what to do or what this inclusion is or,
yeah,
any faulty welds. He'd just say, that's okay, that's bad, that's good, that's it. And so we kind of were left to figure it out. I brought this plate home. I still have it. It's just to the left of me in a box. I brought this plate home, showed my dad because my dad's been in the industry for like 30 years. So I show him. He's like, "This looks like shit." There's still a wire hanging off of it from where I stopped the welder. And then we're showing my uncle. My uncle's like, "Yep, that's a weld."
nah.
But I was ambitious and I would reach out to local fab shops, like one you actually worked with, Bosch. I,
Yep.
I reached out to Bosch. I was like, "Hey, will you guys take me in under your wing?" And they're like, "No, you're 16 years old. We can't take you."
Yeah.
And that was a struggle. But I think if you have to any of the high schoolers out there that are looking to get into the industry while in high school, and your school doesn't help you out with apprenticeships or anything like that, then reach out to your local fab shops. Maybe you have a personal connection or your parents know the owners or a worker there or something like that, or the supervisor that can help you get in there. And then look into your state through a registered apprenticeship is what I did, what I ended up doing. And a lot of fab shops will definitely take that cheap labor, and in return you get experience and some money, but not as much
Absolutely.
money as you would when you're grown up.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, if nobody will take you in or whatnot, I guarantee you this is like what I did. It was a small mom and pop fab shop. I mean, he worked out of this old red barn out in the middle of nowhere. It was just him. And yeah, he just did run of the mill fab work here and there. He sold stuff online. He made all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, that's probably one of the better ways to get in if these big corporations won't take you. So,
And if you can find the right guy, an old timer getting out of the industry,
mm.
and he's willing to pass down his knowledge to you, you need to be all ears, no lip.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. And yes,
listen.
are a lot of these older guys assholes and jerks and dicks and they don't want to teach you, or they think you should have to earn it the hard way like they think they did? Well, there's just as many guys that are willing to teach you, willing to help you learn, willing to, help you find a good deal on a machine, and really willing to take the time to show you their trade. You just got to find the right guy. But there are some assholes out there, but I promise you there's just as many good ones. So,
For sure, you're gonna get shut down a couple times, maybe. And if your local industry is small and you can't find anybody that has a welder that'll take the time and show you, maybe go to Facebook Marketplace, look for a little cheap welder. Harbor Freight. I mean, Harbor Freight
absolutely.
welders aren't the best, but you can definitely learn on a Vulcan or titanium or whatever.
Well, we were talking to Carp Welding in one of our other episodes about the fact that Yes Welder is actually a half decent welder. You can get a multi-process welder for I think it's like $400 or $500. I don't think it's an awful lot. Even if you just got a MIG welder, something cheap, something easy, you found a used gas bottle. I mean, there's ways to do it to get into it cheap. I mean, yeah, you got to quit buying Red Bulls here and there, but you can buy a welding machine before long, believe it or not. And then, from there, it's just going to the YouTube or going to TikTok and learning from other guys and seeing how to set that machine up. There's all sorts of information out there. I mean, you got a computer in your hand 24/7 a day. You're staring at it. So utilize that.
Yeah, most definitely. Or you could go to Everlast, Weld Mean Weld Green, get that through the link in the show notes. Get the upgraded Nova TIG torch and foot pedal. Come on!
I will shout out Bryn here. If you're looking for a really, really good welder, but you're not trying to pay Miller's price, absolutely Everlast, 100% the way to go. I have the 279 Lightning MTS, and that thing has outperformed every other welder I've had. So, shameless plug to Everlast. We love you guys, and we would definitely recommend you go green.
Yeah. And then you could, fresh out of high school, if you don't want to go to college, we went to college. We went to a local community college. It's a little bit cheaper of an option as opposed to like your Western Welding Academy, your Missouri Welding Institute, AWA, all that. Which I'm not knocking any of those schools for anything at all, but I would say their prices are a little expensive compared to what we paid. I mean,
absolutely.
I got really lucky, and the American Welding Society donates like maybe $250,000 a year in scholarships. And after high school, I did some college credits in high school. So after I had maybe $2,000 left, and I got the statewide $10,000 scholarship from the American Welding Society, and I just happened to get the leftover money. So scholarships in your local community college is something to look into. I wouldn't change what I did for anything in the world. I met some great people. My instructors were great. I learned a bunch. But if you're looking to take that pipeline route or something like that, then maybe community college isn't the best option, and some of those academies will be.
And let me point this out. Just about everyone I've talked to in school or coming into the welding industry or just talking to them through social media, they're all talking about, I'm going to the pipeline. I'm getting ready to go to the pipeline. I'm going to get a truck rigged out and go to the pipeline and this, that, and the other. So that'll bring us to our next question of, what's your take on the pipeline and what do you see it as a job opportunity and how would you get into it?
So as a pipeline, I've met people through social media that I think would kind of help me get on, maybe as a helper or something first. I'm not a big stick welder, but if I wanted to take the pipeline route, I would have been focused on stick and TIG.
Absolutely.
But I didn't. So I can lay a bead, but it's not pipeline worthy. I'm no nasty Nate, Joel Welch, or none of them, Austin Ross.
Yeah. Shout out to Austin Ross. Love that guy.
Yeah, great. I mean, he's one of the first welding YouTubers I watched to learn how to weld and learn how to fabricate, stuff like that.
Dude, his pipe fence videos are my freaking favorite when he whips out those things and just the way he articulates his message to you, it's great. Absolutely love Austin Ross. But yeah, I mean, thankfully through social media, you, like I said, you have a computer in your hand and you have the best opportunity ever to find work, to find a way into things and this, that, and the other. I mean, yeah, you're going to get shut down. People are going to be like, yeah, I ain't got any work for you, or no, I'm not going to take you on or anything. But, if it's like, hey, I got a hard work ethic, I will bust my butt, I will grind all the welds, I will do whatever you need me to. I'm just looking to get a start as a helper. And obviously that's a lot of hard work, and you got to be, financially ready to go on the road at any point in time and be able to pay for a hotel and whatnot until that per diem and that check starts rolling in. But it's definitely doable if you are, ambitious and dedicated enough and, you have an actual work ethic, which, believe it or not, is kind of hard to come by these days. So when they see a work ethic, they're like, hell yeah, I want this kid.
Yeah, and another thing you need to take into consideration with the pipeline is what's that startup cost like? Because you're no longer a W-2 employee, you're a 1099 contractor. So obviously you're not going to get benefits. So you got to cover your own life insurance, health insurance, eye, vision, dental, all that. What else is there? You got to cover all those benefits, that 401k retirement plan, whatever you have, cover that yourself. That's not company funded. They're not going to help you with whatever percentage put into it. And then your startup costs, you coming into a nice truck with a brand new machine, $10,000 in tools and fitting equipment. Maybe not 10,000, but whatever. Plus the
It's
welder. I
probably
mean,
close.
yeah, you're
It's
definitely
probably
up there.
close.
Then you put a flatbed on there. You could build that yourself, and then what are you gonna live in? Are you gonna pay for a hotel every time you're down there, or are you gonna buy a camper, a nice old camper, and travel?
Yeah. Now, obviously, neither of us have been on the pipeline. That's none of our ambitions. That's not where we're headed in life. So our opinions are what we've gathered from the industry. Does the pipeline pay well? Yes. But do you pay? You pay for it. I mean, you're gone, and then you're 1,200 miles for home. If you have kids, your kids don't ever get to see you. Your wife is missing you, and this that, and the other. So there are definitely drawbacks to making all that money. So one, you got to be ready to put down a bunch of money to get into this industry, especially as a pipeliner. And two, you got to be willing to give up some of those family aspects to go make that dollar. And like you said, there's no health insurance, there's no, bodily harm insurance. They're not going to cover you if you get a sick and cold and you break a finger like that. That's on you. You got to handle that. So, I mean, there's definitely drawbacks to it, no doubt about it.
And some of the benefits would be, obviously that pay, and then the ability to work for yourself. So you're tired of this job, you're tired of the foreman, the supervisor, whatever, project manager, fucking drag up.
Son, drag up.
Get out of here.
Load my box. Load
With
my
no
box.
repercussions. Well, you could literally do that anywhere, I guess, but
It's especially fun, I'm sure, on the
yeah.
pipeline. But make sure you don't quit until they load your box. Just make sure you get that box loaded before you say, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's benefits, but I mean, we kind of just listed a lot of the cons because that's just something I would want to hear if I was looking to get into it when I
Yeah.
was still in high school.
And we're not trying to sugarcoat it. And like I said, that's nothing that Bryn Welds and I were looking at. We're looking at completely different things in life. So, but that's our outward looking in. So,
And then you could another option, fresh out of high school. You're thinking, man, these guys are retiring at 50. Okay, maybe it's not by choice. They're welding underwater. So
underwater welding. All right, I've never done it, but Bryn, I need your opinion on it because you are the expert in this because you've done it before.
obviously, I didn't do it for a living. I just went in a tank 9 feet deep or 10, whatever it was, 12, I think. Um, and then we also went into a 45-foot deep tank at the Ocean Corporation.
Yep.
But we didn't weld. We just saw who could go to the bottom because that shit hurts, dude. That pressure on your ears.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, so you had to stop every once in a while, and there's like this big pipe jungle gym in there, and so welding underwater. Well, getting hired as an underwater welder, you're a certified diver. What I don't remember the exact term.
Yeah, it's a
But
PADI certified diver, but yeah, you have to get a certification.
so you're a diver more so than a welder. You're going to be inspecting a lot, rigging a lot. Like Ocean Corporation had this, which is an underwater welding school and certified diver school, and they had this tank specifically just for rigging, tying knots to eyelets and whatever. Because how you gonna lift that shit when you're underwater? So they had the welding tank, and then that deep tank, and then a rigging tank. So a lot of the things that you're gonna do is not always gonna be welding, and when you are welding underwater, it is nothing like the surface. You cannot see your puddle because there's bubbles coming up all over from it. It's really off a feel. You just have to jam your rod in there and feel that it's still hitting both base plates.
Really?
Yeah.
So with those rods, is it like a wax coated rod, or do you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the way they explained it was it's a normal rod just coated in wax, and then you get down there, you scratch the tip so you get bare metal instead of wax.
Yep.
And then you can strike up and run it. And then there's comms coming in through the helmet and all that. And that helmet is not comfortable if you got a big head. I wear a size 8 hat, and that shit was heavy. It was
Holy
not
crap. So as far as, is there like any sort of testing that that they have to do to qualify for welds, or is it all just cosmetic type stuff?
No, it's definitely not cosmetic. I think it's the exact opposite. I think that they definitely they definitely need some certifications because most of the stuff they're lifting or they're welding on is the bottom of ships and all this, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely not cosmetic, definitely structural.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff they have to weld down there because they can't take it out, or it would
Yeah.
be too much time to take it out, too much money. And yeah, a lot of people say it shortens the lifespan. I'm not sure. I would imagine, being as how I was shocked every time I was welding the entire time, that it would take some damage on your heart. But the Ocean Corporation, Richard Johnston, he said that that's a myth.
Hmm.
And I don't know. He also told me he had 3 heart attacks. So
Yeah, I mean, look at him. He's 27. He's doing fucking great, you know?
2 heart attacks maybe. And he came from a family of underwater welders and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
well, you know.
yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to make good money. A lot of the stuff you're going to be doing is not welding. I think you start off as a tender, so you're kind of handling the leads. Those guys that go deep, saturation diving, I think is what it's called.
Yep.
They go crazy deep. Those guys make the money, but they'll also be down there for like 24 hours at a time.
Oh yeah, they're down there for a long time, and they're in a bell, and they don't come out of that bell. That bell gets lifted into the ship, and that bell or capsule will stay pressurized the whole time. So they're in that bell for, you know, long periods of time, and then the depressurization to bring them back to, you know, normal atmospheric pressure takes forever. So that stuff, that's the serious, like that's the pipeline of underwater welding, I'm pretty sure, is stuff like that. So
And then you can get into custom fab. Custom fab, you're out of college, high school, whatever. Probably won't take much to get into custom fab besides some knowledge and firsthand experience. Custom fab, I'd say that's kind of what I do right now at the shop that I work for. But I came from a mass production shop. So custom fabrication, I would say, is much more fun. You get to use your head. It's not over. There is some repetitive jobs, but not like what I came from. So custom fab, you're probably going to get paid higher. You're going to be handling more materials, different materials. Your stainless, aluminum, steel. What else? Titanium. We haven't done any of that. Copper, though, we got into some copper.
Copper's fun. I like copper.
Yeah, it's different. When you get on a big item of copper, I can't talk about what we make, but it's a larger item, and once you get that heat, you do not want to leave that part because it takes forever to get that heat back in right where you want it.
It is, yeah. It's a weird material to weld, that's for sure. Now I don't know if you talked about this much. You were looking at going down to Kansas to like a real deal custom fab shop. Can you tell us kind of like what they did and what you saw when you were down there?
So they built drag cars. They didn't touch the engine, anything electrical, transmission. They didn't touch any of that. What they would do is roll cages. I mean, pretty much anything you can weld on a drag car is what they did. That's Fabstar Performance Fabrication. And man, I walked in there and it was one of the coolest shops I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Air conditioned, like nothing was crazy state of the art or anything. He had a lot of welders. One was an Everlast, and that was right when I got on with Everlast. And I was like, man, this is fucking sick.
That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was in Hutchinson, Kansas, and that's what I took the weld test with. And you know, this guy, oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Kenneth at Fabstar Performance Fabrication is not a small human. He was like 6'4" and a hefty motherfucker. And he was upside down in a roll cage welding. So, you know, I was like, man, this would be sweet, but no benefits, decent pay, small shop, you know, not guaranteed work, but he's definitely busy. And I took the weld test, and I really wanted to move down there, but I was very fortunate that he told me the truth. He said, honestly, you carry more weight than somebody local does, because if I have to shut down the shop for whatever reason, then sending somebody home 5 minutes away isn't a problem, but sending somebody 6 hours back home, that sucks.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm not confident enough in the shop's future to take somebody on like you. And I said, all right, that's completely fine. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and good, good for him for looking out for you, because some people could have just been like, yeah, hey, screw you, we're shutting down the shop, figure it out. But he was kind enough to kind of give you an insight into it. So,
Yeah, but
shout out to that.
that's another side of the industry you could get into, those custom fab, but automotive side, like your Austin Hill, your Antoine Hobbs, your
Yes.
Jesse McCollum, your Johnny Dabbs, those
Yeah.
exhaust intakes, all that.
Yeah, the fab shop guy. I mean, absolutely. I really like that side of the industry because I'm big into cars and trucks and lift kits and this, that, and the other. I really enjoy, and overlanders and rock crawlers. I really enjoy, watching these guys do the geometry and the math and the building 4-link kits and stuff. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, I always hated the fact that I would have to use math in welding after high school, but the math they use is even more crazy. But that's what I really like to watch whenever I get onto the old YouTube, is the automotive side of welding. Building roll cages and welding up, nice shiny DOM tubing or chromoly or whatever. But that is definitely another side of custom fab shop, because Bryn, you make parts that you can't talk about, but I'm sure they're pretty sweet. Or you could get into more of automotive stuff, because there's shops out there where they need welders for that. So
Yeah, most definitely. Then you've got your mass production shop. Anybody from anywhere can do this. When I worked there, we hired dudes straight off the street. This guy would sleep at the local park and walk to work in the dead of winter. He was homeless, and we hired a lot. I can't tell you how many guys on work release or fresh out of jail that I just trained, and they would come in making more money than me because I was 17 years old. No, 16 when I started. I was 16 there through the national apprenticip
and they came
facility
in
for
making
welding.
more than you. Oof,
Yeah,
oof.
which was a bargaining chip later on my raise,
Yeah.
but I'm on my review, and I just ended up leaving because I was so tired of doing the same stuff over and over. I was there 2.5 years, and I probably did almost every part in that building. I'd been in every area. I'd ran the press brakes, the 110 ton press, and the laser. I worked at the laser. What else?
Yep.
Powder coat. I did powder coat there. I welded, fucking everything.
Yeah.
And
I got a story for that too. Right out of college, I wanted to stay up here in Grand Island because me and my girlfriend were gonna work something out or something, and I went out to old Case, New Holland, because they were paying 27 an hour, and I lasted there a week, and I said, you know what? I really don't like mass fabrication shops. Screw this. So ended up saying, hey, I'm moving back to Florida. I'll see you later, and packed up my stuff and left. That was kind of the last time I worked in a mass fabrication shop. I worked in an aluminum fab shop, which was, they were getting corporatized and starting to get more like a mass fab shop. But Case, New Holland was the last place that I worked that was like that, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not for everybody. I'm surprised. I mean, hats off to you, Brent, for staying there for 2 years. But
if I wasn't in high school, I would have been gone by then. And
I can't
you
blame
know,
you.
we have a lot of local industry, but that mass production is all of our local industry.
That is it. You are welding the same parts
Yeah,
every day at any of these fab shops
like
or any of these shops.
we got, what do we got? Standard Iron, Chief Fab, Chief Building, CNH, Dramco. What else? Bosch
Uh,
Auger.
yeah, Bosch Arc. Yep, that one too.
Um, who else? A&D. A&D does some iron work and whatnot. So
Yeah, I just know that any industry up here, most of it is going to be your mass fabrication. And if
yeah,
that's what you want to do, and you want to work kind of your 9 to 5, or 7 to 2, whatever it is, and then go home and that's it for the day, absolutely. And you don't care if it's monotonous or the same thing every day, hey, that's great. Like, I met a guy at Case, New Holland. He was staying there just to pay his daughter through high school, and then he was moving back out to Wyoming. So whatever your situation is, that's great, but sometimes it's just not for you. So
how long did you last at CNH?
I lasted a whole week, son. I lasted there 2 days. I'm not gonna lie. Then I'm like, man, is it just weird? Does this place suck? Because I mean, we were welding. I mean, it was the same rotation of parts. I mean, Brent, but
Yeah.
it was like 4 stations, 5 or 6 different parts, whatnot, and you just went around a circle. And you checked off all the boxes for the day, and they're like, okay, you want to stay for overtime? Hell no, I don't want to stay for overtime. Screw this place. I'm out. I'm going home. I'm going to go make welding hoods. See ya.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they weren't happy about that. And one of our old assistant professors, he works at Case New Holland. He does, a part-time thing. He works a couple hours every day. And he saw me when I first showed up. He's like, oh, hey, nice to see you here. And we shook hands and all that. And then he was like the first one to hear that I was leaving. He's like, oh, leaving already? I was like, yeah. And I explained it to him. And he's like, man, I can't blame you. After all these years I've been here, I can see where you're coming from. So,
Yeah, I mean, mass production definitely gets boring. It'll pay the bills. It's not going to pay your best in the industry. That's probably I'd say the lowest side of the industry, maybe.
I would agree. Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with that. That's definitely one of the lower sides of the industry, no doubt.
And a lot of our local industry in those mass production shops are not air conditioned. The benefits are shoddy. There's not, I mean, there's not much benefit to work in there, but we
No.
have a large population and a lot of people that want to work with their hands. So
Yeah, and if that's, like I said, if that's what you want to do, heck yeah, more power to you. But
somebody's got to do it.
yeah, I think that's where creativity goes to die for a welder is mass fabrication.
Yeah, you could. Maybe you're thinking about starting up your own company. I
Ooh.
obviously don't have my own company, so Andrew, this is more you.
All right, yeah, I can take over. A personal company, 14-hour days. You got to fund your own vacation. You have no insurance, no health care unless you pay for it. It's great, I'm just joking. But I started Southern Leatherworks when I was still in college. I was looking for an out because this is when I was working at Bosch Welding, sludging through the packing plant. And I looked around at $16 an hour because I didn't know anything. So that's what I was getting paid. And I said, this is not for me. And I decided to start the custom welding hood company because that's something I really enjoyed working with was my hands and being creative and, making cool stuff. It's come with its drawbacks. You're working late, you're working all day. If you have a day job, you're going to be working that day job and then you're going to go work on your side job. And, I think the key to that is work your day job as long as you can until that, the side job is paying more than your day job is. And it came to a point where it was doing that. And so I kind of looked at the numbers and I looked at what I was doing and I decided, you know what, I can do this. So it comes with its drawbacks, but I think the biggest thing is the pros. You most of the time it's your own schedule. You can say yes or no to jobs. You can say no, that's not up my alley. I'm not going to do that. Or you can say absolutely, that's up my alley. I want to do that. And you get to set your own schedule. I like working till midnight, 2 in the morning, and then waking up at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and having breakfast or having a mid morning lunch and going back at it. And it's you can't really go into just any fab shop and say, hey, I'm going to run my own hours. So I think the personal company, your own shop, your own business, whatever. I think it's a great way to go. And in a world of corporation and bigwig companies that we have today, I think we need more small guys, and I think we need more small guys that take pride in their work because, not everybody wants to work for the big man and send the big man on vacations and give him all the bonuses. Some of us want to, see the fruits of our labor firsthand, and I think a personal company is definitely the way to go for that. Is it for everybody? No. Can anybody do this? Absolutely not. But for some people, it's the only way to go. So
What was that first step like when you went from working for somebody else to you? That's got to be a hard decision to
it
make and
was
terrifying.
it's terrifying. I'm telling you, it's terrifying because I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this. This is easy. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, you're not going to get a weekly paycheck. You're not going to get paid every Friday, so you can go out and booze with your buddies. I mean, you have to get out there and you have to sell. You have to sell. You have to sell. If you don't sell, you're not making money. And then it's like, well, do I have enough money saved up if there's downtime and I'm not selling anything or products aren't selling? And it was absolutely terrifying. But you know, I'm a very faithful man. I'm a Christian man. I'm very religious, and I prayed about it and prayed about it. And then sooner or later, it was like, okay, I'm done working here. This is it. I'm done. And that was at the aluminum fab shop, and it was very much like a mass production type place. You do your stuff and you get out and you build the same thing every day. And by the end of it, I was just so frazzled and so done with it. I said, screw this. This is not where I'm happy. Where I'm happy is in my welding hood shop making custom hoods for everybody. So that step was terrifying when I realized that, hey, there's no check coming through. You got to figure out your own taxes. Nobody's paying for healthcare. You got to pay for insurance on all this stuff. You got to pay for equipment when it breaks. If you break that piece of equipment, you got to pay for it. Big boss man corporation isn't paying for it. So, although that first step was terrifying, I've come to enjoy, believe it or not, enjoy the stress and how tired I am, because at the end of the day, I feel like I accomplished something and I made something of myself, instead of making something of someone else. So, yeah.
When you took that first step, wasn't that around the time when you had to layer down?
Oh God. Yeah, I had to layer down. Had a little grass clipping incident. Just kidding, not a grass clipping. Someone pulled out in front of me with a trailer with no lights on it, and this was at midnight. I got off night shift, and I had no choice but to drop the bike, which is a Kawasaki, not a freaking Harley Davidson. Don't get me riled up on that. I had to lay it down, slid all across the pavement. I got up and I told myself, I was like, I'm not telling my girlfriend about this. Screw this. I was like, I'm not telling her. She does not need to hear about this. I was like 2 seconds away from picking my bike up and riding home because I didn't see how bad the damage was. And then I saw that my brand new shocks were all scratched up. So I'm like, no, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to get a paycheck from this because I'm not paying for these $600 shocks. But yeah, that was like a couple weeks before. I was like, all right, hey, boss man, I'll see y'all later. And I didn't walk out. I gave him a 1 week notice, which I don't think a 2 week notice is really needed nowadays unless you feel like you owe somebody something, which I did because they kind of took care of me on certain occasions.
Man, I
But
gave
yeah,
that mass production shop. I gave him like a month notice.
did you really?
But
Okay.
it was really unfortunate timing. I wanted to give a 2 week notice,
Yeah.
but the problem was my supervisor was on leave because he was fighting cancer, and
Yeah.
he just beat it.
Yep.
Like, I couldn't have asked for a better boss. Junior messenger at Chief Fabrication in Grand Island,
Yeah.
Nebraska.
Absolutely.
Like, hands down, I would love to work for that guy again. Okay, so my immediate supervisor was gone. I had my foreman, but I'm not gonna, they can't do anything with that. HR was gone. Plant manager was gone.
Hmm.
Production manager was gone, and the president of Fab was gone.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody was on vacation. It was like the worst timing, and it was like a 3 week vacation for that.
Yeah.
And
And like I said, for certain situations, you give more than a 2 weeks notice. Like that's commendable. They're in a tight spot. You're going to help them out. But like for me, I owe those guys, the aluminum manufacturing shop. They helped let me go to Fab Tech. They let me go and do all these things. And I was like, hey, I know y'all don't need me. Y'all are going to replace me tomorrow. It's not a big deal.
yeah.
I mean, but here's my 1 week notice. So 2 week notice ain't for everybody, but for some people, it's worth giving them that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you could get into PPE, the PPE business side of welding, which is Andrew, your Chris from Well Bros in episode 2. You can go back and listen to that. What a great episode! I mean,
And all of those mass production guys that try and sell us gloves on Instagram, those guys too. Shout out to them. It's every day, dude. Hey, would you like to buy gloves and safety? No, I don't want to buy gloves and safety equipment. But yeah, let's talk about Chris from Wobros. We had him on the podcast here, and he's making some sweet, PPFR type stuff. He makes the steel toes for the Hey Dudes, which I'm a big Hey Dude guy, so I'm gonna have to get some so I can wear my Hey Dudes.
That closet that's right when you walk into my house.
Yeah.
If you open the right side, it's all Hey Dudes.
It's all Hey Dudes? Oh, shoot.
9 pairs.
They're great. I love them. Comfortable. Shout out to Hey Dude. We don't take sponsorships, but we might take you. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, this shit's getting expensive real fast.
Yeah, I agree. But
I think we're still going to stick to the no sponsors for now.
Absolutely.
Eventually, if we can find a company that's fine with us saying whatever we want, like fuck, shit, bitch, all that.
Absolutely, that's just us. Like we're not gonna fake this. This is what. Lawyers. Yeah, we are welders. Yeah, we are welders.
We shoot guns. We like to have fun. If we can find a company that's cool with all that, then we would probably take them in.
Absolutely. Now, talking about PPE business side, I discovered something really cool. So, this is referring to Outlaw Leather, who also sells leather welding hoods. They are one of the only leather. I believe it's leather welding hood company that is safety certified. Now I don't know how you get safety certified, but I bet that's expensive and I bet that sucks. But there are companies out there that make it their personal priority to make something safe and make something that'll keep you safe and healthy and happy on the job site. So between them and Chris from Wobros putting a flamethrower to an Everlast shirt to test it out, there's guys out there that really, really are taking safety standards into account when making their products. So there is that side as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's I can't remember. Stacia from Edge Welding Cup said in our group chat yesterday that I believe it was $24.7 billion was in the welding industry last year, but not welding as a whole, like PPE, your consumables, all that, which was mind-boggling to me. And she said it's projected to jump from like 6 billion this year, which
Really?
is completely insane.
That is
There's
nuts.
so much money in this space to be made on the back end and welding as a full-time job. And yeah,
I
so that
agree.
you can also, if you're older, you're not getting out of high school right now, you've been out for 20 years, you can get into the industry for sure. You can start with a mass production job like that, learn how to lay a bead, and then maybe change to whatever you want. Like, there's a lot of guys in this industry that don't even have high school diplomas. Like we talked to Welds by Zen, or wait, no,
Did
whoops,
he drop out? Or
no,
was
yeah,
it?
yeah, I believe he
Or
did.
was it Chris? Did Chris get?
Yeah, Chris. Okay, yeah, we're just mistaken. All right, I believe we're mistaken. I don't know. You'll hear it in the Welds by Zen episode.
Yeah,
I'll mention it to
absolutely.
him that I
And
said that.
listen, us welders, we're full of felons, we're full of criminals.
Yeah,
It's a hard job. So yeah, you without your GED, 20 years of prison time, whatnot, you can walk into a fab shop or a mass production shop and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm at. I want to learn to weld. I want to learn a valuable trade. And because I truly believe that you get paid for on what your skill level is and, what you bring to the table. If you don't have a valuable skill set, you're not going to get paid. So if you go out there and say, hey, I want to learn this, I want to do this, and you learn a valuable skill, well, that's worth something to a lot of people. So you walking into a mass production shop like any of the ones we have here, there will I guarantee you one of them is willing to say, yeah, we'll put you somewhere, we'll show you something, we'll see what you can do. And obviously you got to have a hard work ethic and you got to be willing to learn and be willing to get cussed at because welders cuss at people. We're a big nasty group of people, but
yeah.
you got to be willing to take the blows as you learn. So
And you can get into that repair and maintenance side of the industry as well, kind of like
God,
Weston
repair and
from.
maintenance sucks, dude. I hate
Yeah,
repair and
I would hate
maintenance.
that too. But man, I couldn't ask for a better maintenance guy at my job right now.
Oh,
John
really?
Fitchhorn, the greatest. First off, amazing guy, right? Like stand up human being, and this is crazy. So I start to work at Dramco Tool on Grand Island. Okay, I meet this maintenance guy immediately. We're kind of like good work buddies. He's older, and he's also new there. He's been there about a year now, and comes to find out, he was best friends with my grandpa's brother, which I believe is my great uncle. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But when they were kids, and he showed me this scar on his leg. We didn't find this out for months after I met him. And I've never met my grandpa's uncle. He passed away, unfortunately, before I was born. But John Fitchhorn has a scar in his leg. My uncle shot him in the leg. And
No kidding.
they were best buddies. This guy is like a top tier maintenance guy. Not only he gets shit done and he's knowledgeable about the industry, but it's just crazy how small of a world that is. My great uncle shot him in the leg.
Shot him in the leg. That
Yeah.
is a very, very small industry. Now, besides like mass production, do you think there's any other way an older fellow who could get into this? Do
Um,
you think smaller fab shops would be willing to take someone in at that age?
I mean, when I think older, I'm not talking like retirement age. I'm kind of
Yes.
talking you were I don't know, a line cook at a restaurant and now you want to get into welding. Yeah, I definitely do think that because mass production, I don't know, I guess when you look at the other sides of the industry, yeah, you could probably get into pipelining and start out as a helper and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as, I guess, starting fresh out of high school. You're just at a different point in your life. You got to be humble. You got to be willing to go ask questions and say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I want a job." So
or
you
maybe a
got to be
local union.
that. That is that. Yeah, that would bring us into another thing.
I don't
Union.
know. I don't know jack shit about the union. I know we had Carp on, Carp's union, and we had
Carp
Chris
is
on,
union.
and Chris
Yeah,
was union.
he was absolutely. And I've heard a lot of great things about union. You know, I've heard they take care of their guys. Now you're a part of that little cultish group of being union, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
But from what I've also seen, a lot of unions take care of their guys, which I think is a good thing. Now, granted, if you're one of those union guys that takes advantage of it and is just lazy and doesn't work hard and just wants a paycheck, can't really support that. But if you're a hardworking American man and you want to put in a hard day's work and you want to go work for the union and you want to do your job to the best of your ability to what they're paying you for, and you want to go home and have them take care of you on the backside, absolutely, that's great. But union's not for everybody, so.
you could be a union iron worker.
No.
In a larger city where you go build fucking skyscrapers and whatnot. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know much about the union, so I kind of don't want to talk about it. But I think for certain people that kind of look into it, if it fits, it fits, and they know it fits. Like Carp, well, Carp could go far without the union, with or without.
Absolutely. His
Like that
talents can
guy's
take him
very
really
talented.
far.
But Carp said there is those bums in the union, but that some of them offer pensions. I think I'm not sure if
Yep.
everyone does, and a
Yep.
pension would be nice, a guaranteed pension.
Yeah. And again, like we said, neither Bryn or I are in the union, so this is just from our view from the outside looking in. Neither of us are experienced in it, but this is just from what we see. So.
Well, Union Pacific, actually, my grandpa retired from Union Pacific.
Oh, no kidding. Railroad man, huh?
Yeah, his whole life, I think it was like 47 years or something, and retired pretty young, I'd say, and now has a house in Arizona and here on a lake. So
Pretty good.
yeah, his pension, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I think it's your best year from when you were in, and then I think your spouse gets half of your best year.
Really?
Yeah, it's something crazy like that.
And something like that where they take care of you when you retire. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that'd be something really nice to have if you're willing to bust your butt for all those years. Get paid for it.
Yeah, and there's not much welding on railroads. I mean, what they do is kind of like a cast welding, is they melt.
Yes.
They set some kind of mold around the track, and then they melt this whatever iron or whatever, and then they'll funnel it back down in there, and then you'll grind off whatever's excess. And so it's not real. I wouldn't consider it real welding. It's kind of like, I don't know, forge welding.
Yeah, I would call it more of like a forging type welding process, but still cool nonetheless to watch.
Yeah, definitely. That would be cool, and I would love to experience that as well.
Yeah.
And when you get into the industry, you can kind of post your welds if you want, like I did, and Andrew. Andrew, you didn't as much post your welds as your
Not as
helmets.
much, no. Yeah, it was more helmets for me, but you, absolutely. I remember you were posting all sorts of welds because that's where you got a lot of views from.
Yeah,
So.
even when I was trash,
And that's the thing. You post your welds, you're going to get dogged. I'm just
Yeah.
going to put this out there right now. You are going to get dogged. I don't care if you're Carp welding, the kid that tigs, or Bryn welds. You're going to get dogged on all freaking three accounts.
For sure.
Regardless, they're going to kill you for it. But, there's people out there, who are actual welders that weld every day, and they look at that, they go, yeah, that is a good weld. That will hold, and you didn't have to grind it down. So that must be a good weld.
And there's a lot of benefits to it too. A lot of welders have side hustles, side shops, whatever they they'll do some personal repairs and whatnot. And that's kind of a side hustle. If you monetize it, you're able to, that'll pay your gas bill or whatever for that
something. Yeah, anything.
I mean,
anything's helpful nowadays.
And then grow it. Shit, maybe it could become your full-time job. It's not mine.
Exactly.
But that's because I like my retirement plans and benefits.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to fund my own. I mean, I do have a retirement plan outside of my 9 to 5's retirement plan, just because I'd like to retire nicely.
Absolutely. And I think the social media thing, it could be a decent little portfolio. I mean, as long as you're posting all your welds and whatnot, they say hiring companies will look at your social media. Well, if you post welds and stuff, you're like, hey, go ahead and look at my social media. Go look at all my nice little welds on
Yeah.
there. But like Bryn said, there's ways to make money on social media, even if you're not, even if you're not absolutely massive or huge. That's something you can start and grow, and eventually it could probably pay your gas bill for the week, or it could grow into something bigger, like kind of what like Brent Wells has got. Lots of followers, big social media guy, and all the rest. So
You can get into the business side of the industry, as in sales. My dad has been a salesman well, I guess he didn't start in sales. He started as a welder, went to quality, went to plant manager, and then back down to whatever, and now he's at sales. And, sales doesn't sound like a bad gig. It would kind of suck having to be that guy because, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of salesmen, but,
yes, I
um,
agree.
well, I guess that kind of comes with your job. You kind of got to be a salesman.
I do, and I have to, and I'm honest with people. I'm not gonna try and smooze you. I'm gonna tell you the basic benefits of my hood that you will see right away. But I hate having to like try and convince someone to buy something because I feel like I don't know. I feel kind of sleazy trying to do it, and I tried. I'm not sleazy. I'm being as honest and humble as possible. Like, hey, yeah, there's better hoods out there, but are they better hoods for this price? Are you willing to pay that much more for it? But it's hard sometimes because that's not my personality. I'm not a huge salesman. I'm a very personable guy. I just like to have a good conversation and whatnot. So I try and use that to my ability of just giving people the basic facts.
And sales really isn't a bad gig. I mean, my dad's been doing it for probably 10 years now. He's been in the sales role. And, if you work for a large company, they'll pay for your vehicle, they'll pay for gas, your vehicle's insurance, all that, because you're going to be traveling around to all your customers and whatnot. You get to interact with your customers and network, and then expand your network to know everybody in the state, in your industry or this industry and that. Like, we'll drive by something, we do work for them, yada, yada,
Yeah,
yada, something like that.
I do have a story on that side of the plus sides to being a salesman at my old job. The aluminum manufacturing shop, our salesman guy got to take guys on hunting and fishing trips and
Yep.
would sell them aluminum fence. So you look at that and you're like, you know what? That don't seem too darn bad. But
Football games.
yeah, going to football games, let's go to a baseball game, whatever. That's just, some people are wired to sell aluminum fence and, they're darn good at it. But I think the hunting and fishing probably helps a little bit.
Yeah, conventions. You got your tool and machine conventions like FabTech and all that.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I got this story about FabTech with this salesman, but I'm not gonna tell it until we have
Oh, come
not
on.
until we have
Come
James from
on.
when we have
All
James
right.
from
All right.
SSP on. Me
Fair
and him are
enough.
gonna tell the story because
All right.
I'm not even gonna get
All right.
into
Well,
it.
y'all go message James from SSP. We're gonna get him on here so we can hear this story.
He'll
But
definitely come on. He's a freaking dude. We had so many laughs at FabTech. It was
that's
hilarious.
great. Well, I'm sure you had a laugh with that instant with that salesman, but that's for another time.
And then yeah, it was crazy. We booked this Airbnb. We're like, dang, dude, this place looks crazy. And it was super nice, don't get me wrong. And then we get there and we're on the west side, like far southwest side of Chicago on Martin Luther King Drive. And I don't know, it seems like every city with on Martin Luther King Drive, some shit happens. And it was not the place to be in Chicago if you're a visitor.
Oh.
Definitely, like the first night, there's gunshots, and one of the days we were there actually was like the first day in 5 years, or it was like the fifth day in 5 years where there hadn't been a shooting. So we got pretty lucky that
Hey, there you go.
day.
Bryn Weld survived Chicago Fab Tech.
Yeah,
Good grief.
it was crazy, but yeah, I mean, sales doesn't seem like a bad gig if you can stand yourself selling and oh, you got to travel a lot too. Like my dad, he's in a different state every couple weeks, a different country even sometimes. So that's a big part of it. But you'd meet a lot of cool people, get a lot of good benefits. That commission would only motivate you to work harder, I think. And yeah, So that's pretty much all the sides of the industry that we can think of fresh out of high school or college, or maybe you're older, you're looking to get into it. So that wraps up episode 3. Every Monday at 4 a.m. Start your week off right with the Iron in Sight. I'm Bryn Welds.
And I'm Andrew Nichols with Southern Leatherworks.
Thank you for watching. You can check out the Everlast and Edge Welding Cups link in the show notes. Edge Welding Cups, code BRYNWELDS15, I do believe. It'll say it in the show notes. Through that link, you get 15% off and with that code. And then Everlast, if you order your machine through that link, you get the upgraded Nova Torch and TIG foot pedal package free of additional charge, which is a $100 value.
And then if you're looking for custom welding hoods or other leather products out there, you can head to southernleatherworks.net online. You can go look at my Etsy shop. It's in my TikTok bio. All sorts of good leather stuff. I'm starting to make belts and moving into other quality leather goods. So thank you guys for joining
belts,
us.
Baby, let's
yes,
go.
Sir. Go get you some.
Thank you.